Nisambulu bina kana turanga na marama turubu ngone leo wakino kimni rangone oni sabarongo ka sar tingumai ene ka bini VAKARAUBUKA indendai sai karo sangabul katul tikuni singa ni bulango kusita ronon dolu rosangabul ka ba enda sakinda wakiked sartiko ena ya dani ngone turanga ko Jisu Kristo Lebuti na bika enda sarabati ko na recho lealo wakakina darongada tiko na recho ena vika ke sare la ko durumati ko na nando no mai viti ena ngona saranga ongo ka o katiko kina na matani tu wakaturanga otonga matani singa me vakani sabe bisakita sartinga bakalewa na ngonongo na vika membaleta na wani matini be bakamatinta ki se drugs ena ken be matangali ka kuriseta tongo na bano ko viti na ken tukutuku kamayo kataltunga kina na matani tu ko tonga matani singa e bakando bulandina na kenda saba kaya nga tagisar tunga na ngone so ira na lubenda mera bakay tabikina isanda na ding mando mendona nanda sere memagay bakurital tukani na nanda bakarorongo
Kambani
Napongindinda yanda narongap tikumanda kinendo na vitala noa. Karon na vitala no tukina VJ na Ryan mena Fiji Village. Kay nangoni turanga na ilulu ni matambo sila turanga Ratu William Servakula. Wakadorito kana vitala no ongo na wasa wakaperitania. Kausanitaka ninda na wararong binaka sarkina darongoda kana waraka bure waka sama sartal nga weekenda manda na vital no takatukan nanda dula mani vale nonde tiko merau kina ninda wawarau tiko ena vikasa lako durumu tiko mengo na nonda mbula ena vengo na todok sara.
Bulabinaka, namaste and good evening. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm VJ Narayan and we are privileged tonight to have a very important guest again, saying yes to our invitation, the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, Ratu Viliame Servakula. Ratu Viliame, it's good to see you in person after about, I think, 21 years, 23, maybe 21 to 22 years.
Indeed, it's been a while. VJ.
And of course, for those who may not know, the Ratu Viliame used to be senior officer of the Republic of Fiji Military Forces and left after the events of 2000, not too long after that. Ratu, we will be talking about various issues. But I think, because when we put this show out and to say that it will feature you, we also said that you played a significant part in the defense of Queen Elizabeth Barracks in 2000. One during the coup on May 19, 2000, and one during the November 2nd mutiny. If you can talk about that, because those are some of the most turbulent times that Fiji ever experienced.
Yes, Vijay, I left the army. I left the RFMF prematurely, I would say, because I really wanted the RFMF as a career to retire from the army. But unfortunately, events of 2000 came by and was beyond our control. I think we've all read about it, what's happened and what took place, or what led to it. We were in the unfortunate, put in a very unfortunate situation to choose to disobey orders which we deemed illegal, to go and commit treason, do the right thing, disobey orders, but safeguard the institution. It's a situation no military officer would want to find himself in or herself in. I was in the spot at that time. I made the call. We were not going to commit. I was not going to lead my soldiers, allow my soldiers to commit treason. At the moment I made the decision, I was left with no doubt that I'll have to see it through, because at the end of it, my career is over. I can no longer stay in the military after disobeying orders. So we went through, and that led to my departure. The end of it. When we finished when the mutiny was over, which is an unfortunate dark page in our history, I was out of Suva when it started, and I came back in. I was communicating with our people who were there, And there's a lot of stories about a big fight going on. There wasn't really. There were some people firing one way and people firing aimlessly the other way, which was unfortunate because some stray bullets went out into the suburbs and people got hurt. So I gave the order while coming over, I think around about Pacific Harbour, somewhere around Nabwa. I told 3 of us on the radio, everybody cease fire now. If you do not know where the rounds are impacting, cease fire now. If they continue to fire, let them do so. And not long after that, it died, of course. By the time I got up there, things were all calm. But when it was all over, I decided that the first thing that we need to do is to clean house. We have to clean up the house. So I ordered a thorough investigations on all misdemeanors by my soldiers, including myself. I had to go to the police and ask you, look, if there's anything on me, you let me know now because I'm going to begin process. I spoke with Moses Drive about it, who was the Assistant Commissioner of Police Operations at that time. And so we took charge. So as we were going through this, and there were some soldiers who were charged for disobeying orders, and it struck on, and it's dawned on me that I committed that. And I realized that I had to leave. So I typed my resignation letter, went up to Ben Marama, and tendered my resignation. He said he was going to pardon me and all the rest of it. I said, look, what I did, I had compromised my position as a leader of men, and there's no place for me here. You have to let me go and leave the institution intact. So that led to a decision, and also my family had come under a lot of threat. My children were so traumatized with the nasty phone calls. My wife said, we have to take our children out of the country if they are to have a future. So I took them away and I was fortunate that the New Zealand government offered me a job, and the rest is history.
I'll ask you a few things because those remain burning questions when people are talking about it. It does come up at times. Number one, a story that has been relayed, quoted, you being quoted in it, that during the May 19th coup and after that, you receiving communication from some people to support the illegal act, and in return you'll be paid a large amount of money. If you can talk about that, because that shows that there were other players who wanted it to succeed in a certain way by getting full military support.
Yeah, look, there was a lot of pressure coming from the outside, money. One call even said that I would be made the commander if I supported them. And there were a lot of those silly stuff. I found really annoying because loyalty is something you cannot buy. I found it disrespectful in trying to lure a soldier, not that took an oath in my God's name to carry out the duty, and to offer money to say, give that up and do this. We found it very insulting. It was something that was never given a second thought. We found it very sad, and it didn't deter us at all from continuing with what we have chosen to do.
Ratu, you now will definitely be involved in a process which is about to start, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The current government has said it is important to look into it. Even the opposition leader has said, yes, he's a former RFMF senior officer as well, Inyasiri Ratu, has said it's important to talk about things even right back to 1987. Some have made the comments, those events were one of the darkest days for Fiji and continued to take us backwards. How important do you think this setup will be and the way it's run?
I think it's timely. I had been working on a book to tell my story about what happened. But now that after hearing that there's going to be a truth and reconciliation process, I thought, no, I'll show it. Because this is, and now, I think, time is a great healer. We've now come to a point in time in our history that there are things, perhaps it's the best left alone. But we need to come out and so that we can open up the evidence for people to come forward. I left Fiji hoping that I'd walk away from that, but I couldn't walk away from it. I went into the United Nations, went to the New Zealand Army, and it affected me. It stayed with me. The kids grew out of it.
What stayed with you?
The pressure, the stress. I think later on, after going through this again, when I was in Libya, Tripoli, the peak of the Arab Spring, I realized that I was getting it again. And as I found out later, that's post-traumatic disorder. It's PTSD. Now I realized that I had PTSD when I was here. Sleeping 2 hours, 3 hours a night for 3 months doesn't help. It doesn't work. You're coping. Sometimes you go without food for days and you don't realize it. That's what stress does to you. And here, it was very strong here, especially when we as a force, everybody, when you're in the army, that's where you feel safe in there because everyone took the same oath and you're together. But then you get to a point in time and you realize that, somebody else is going the other way. I've got space beside me. I've got to look after myself now. And that's something that you're not trained for, because you're trained that all your friends you'll be standing together. And that causes a lot of stress because you have a responsibility to lead, man, and you have to look after yourself and to look sideways, look forward, look backwards. And you're dealing with life. It's not something you can go to the shop and buy a second one. You lose it, that's it. And as well as the soldiers, you lose the last soldier's life, that's it. And you have to live with that for losing a soldier for the rest of your life. Whether you made the decision a right one or wrong, it's up to you or not. In my case, the decision to go down that path with all those hardships we faced, I made that decision. So everything that the soldiers faced going down that path, I take responsibility for it, whether I like it or not. And that's something I'll have to live with.
Now, with this Reconciliation Commission, of course, you did say that it will open up wounds. Some things it's better to leave it as they were, but at the same time, it may come up through the victims. That this is what happened.
Yeah.
And we know in 87, in 2000, civilians have their stories to tell, even in 2006. How do you think we should be handling this, knowing that it could become the situation may heat up again, from your perspective?
When I said leave it alone, I think I should have elaborated on that by saying that, the blaming game, the blaming people, so-and-so did. I think that should be, you should talk to one another, we should come forward to the reconciliation. Be prepared for the hard words. And as I told Minister Karen, I'm ready for that. I'm happy to go first if you want me to, or to be amongst the first, because I know I'll feel better. I will tell you my story, what I did, and you can tell me if you didn't like what I did, and I have the responsibility to accept it. And because it's only then we can move forward. I'm not saying that to leave it alone and just forget about these things. No, we should talk about it and be open about it. And that yesterday I was at the first sitting of the reconciliation team, in the process of putting together the legal framework for the commission, and these questions came up, and these issues turned up, and so we were left with that we need to let it take its course.
And just letting people know that we will have a separate show with the chair of the GCC talking about truth and reconciliation. But tonight we have to look at other issues regarding the Great Council of Chiefs coming back. And that's what we'll be focusing on. And thank you for just initial comments. And I won't let you off that easily. You'll be back for another show to talk more about it. Let's talk about, I would say there's a real concern on the ground about the erosion of Itoke culture, traditions, and language. There's several challenges at several fronts, and it's very concerning. Are you concerned as the chair of the GCC?
Well, the chiefs have voiced their concern at the last meeting in Delba, that led to, and that has now led to the appointment of a subcommittee led by Professor Apollinaire Tamata. And they've been given the terms of reference to look into exactly what you're talking about, what has led to that. But it's not hard to work out why. But first of all, one is time is changing. The evolution. Now everyone's exposed to AI, and so especially the young children. There are many factors that have led to the erosion of the. It starts from, if you're talking about the GCC, it's the leadership in the traditional setting, the traditional structure. People have talked about, is it still relevant? The structure is relevant or not? It is relevant. It is the framework that holds a Toke together. It's the leadership within that framework, from the Toka, the family, to the Matangali, the subclan, the Arusa, and all the way to the guy at the top, has to take responsibility for that. And I was down at the parade ground this morning talking to the Rotsolala Skuna parade, and I stressed to the parents that all these issues that's happening now, including language and culture, it starts from home. If we're neglecting looking after the children, because one thing we need to remember is the kids there today, you and I, Vijay, we live through a period where the societal norms were observed. Yeah? People follow the rules. There were laws made by lawmakers in the appropriate manner. Then we came through the last 16 years where all this were turned upside down. The lies were said to be truth, and and vice versa. And people made laws as they go along so they could target individuals that they want. It's all the norms of society. It is unfortunate that this generation, most of them are on parade today, now that they're 16, 17, the whole development stage of cycle life of a child, they live through that. And now it is our responsibility to fix it. And the way I see it is, this is the time where leadership needs to stand up and say, that's the direction we need to go. These are the things we need to do. These are the things we need to do to make sure that we all have and lead in that direction. Because if we don't, this young generation will take all these things that they are now picked up during their childhood. They don't know what's right and what's wrong. They're still going through that. And as you know, you and I, we were, as parents, there were parents who were stressed during that period. They lost their jobs. There was no job security. So all that stress would lead to things they say unconsciously in the house, their behavior in the house. The kids are watching it. And to them, this is the norm. And if we don't fix it now, in the next decade, some of them will be parents. And that's going to be passed on, and it'll transcend generations, unfortunately. So we need to fix it now.
What part can the GCC play in the present age and in the future? Knowing that, as you said, some people are saying that the GCC is outdated. Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm VJ Narayan. Our guest tonight, the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, Ratu Viliame Serovakula. Ratu Viliame, in relation to our education system and curriculum, a lot has been said about that and about the teaching of it. Okay, for example, I went to Suva Grammar School, and I remember there was an option available once a week. You can attend Itoke language class and conversational, and I'm blessed and happy that I took that, and I understand the language very well. Those kind of options to be made available to ensure that the culture, tradition and language, the parts of it are within the curriculum of any school in Fiji. Is there a plan to do that?
Right now, as we speak, Vijay, there is a subcommittee, the education committee. They are looking into, they've been tasked, because at the last meeting, the chiefs raised exactly the same concern, the sentiments that you just talked about. Now, that was discussed at quite some length, the concern from the chiefs about the way things are. Because if we think back, you and I went through education system that's the envy of the region. You know, and look at work. The people who come out of that, when they go into job, they have good work ethics because of the way they were educated. Our education system was great. But then, unfortunately, that was taken apart for some reason, only to some people. They took it apart, and look at where we are now. The exam system, there's a whole raft of things that they changed. And so the education committee is going down. I think Queen Victoria School is being identified as the pilot project because it's all predominantly Tokei boys, and they're in a setting in a boarding school. So they're going to the QVS will be used to relook at this, where we now lack, what used to work, where have they disappeared to, and what the problems they have caused, and how we can come with ways of fixing that. And even the culture of in schools, we used to be taught cultures. We always have a program where we are taught how to do mekes, how to present a sebu, how to present a tabua, and the girls used to weave mats and all these kind of things. But those were taken away. They were deemed that it's racist. There's nothing racist about culture. Culture is important. It makes a people. It defines us for who we are. I've seen with my own eyes where teachers preparing for a traditional ceremony, and it's all over the place. And it's and they were standing around looking like, yeah, we got this, we got it. It's not. It's frightening to think that it's gone to that level where even the teachers have forgotten about how to, our traditional cultures and how we are doing things. So it is timely for that to take place. They have a big job. They have a three-year term, this education subcommittee and the language and culture subcommittee. They all there for 3 years to continue. So after QES, they're going to go to Ratsolala Schooner and then one of the girls' school, just to make sure that and once they've identified that, then we'll be talking to the Ministry of Education as to how we can bring this on. But we will continuously work with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Itoke Affairs to make sure that we bridge this. Like I said earlier on, this is the time to fix these things. We can't let it to wait for another 5-10 years.
It's interesting what you said about, like, if even for a teacher, if they're about 32 years old, they were 16, and after that, or the whole 16, 17 years, when things changed, and they come out of it, they don't know any different themselves.
There you go.
I believe you had to stand up in one of those ceremonies and correct them before the chief came in.
I had to. We had to stand up to talk to the teachers. You need to, that's wrong. This is the way you do it.
Can you explain what ceremony was going on and what was wrong?
It's a traditional ceremony of welcome. The the sequence, in a traditional ceremony of welcome in youth and Galugolobi and all this, though the sequence is there for a reason. When a person arrives, you perform the Vakasombu like in the old days when you're coming out of the canoe. This is to signify that you're welcome, you'll be okay. You're not going to end up in somebody else's party if you come ashore. So, and when you arrive, and because you're coming over with water, covered in water, then they do the Wama Mother where the ladies present the mat. That to signify, drying up the guest to make sure that he's welcome. And then you present the Galgalobi after that, and then, the Galgalobi and the mat, and then you present the Sebu to say, okay, now this is a way for us to explain who we are and what, and how much we value your presence here, etc. And they do the same. And then you present the meat. He said, you're welcome, you will be well fed here, so you'll be fine. So they come in a sequence. And you don't go lay them out in the front there for everyone to see. It's okay,
show off pride or something.
Exactly. You do it in a sequence. Let's say, and it also depends whether the receiver receives it. You have to listen to what they say. If they receive it and they said, yeah, okay, I'm happy, I thank you very much for this, okay, then you do the next one. If they say this and they like it and you hear the words are right and say, what? The next one, put the next one in. You don't go and show it out there and lay it out. So to me, it's a sign of a lack of understanding why we do these things. It's not just to do it nicely. Something that bothers me is that the military, almost like the militarization of things. See people sitting in ceremonies, sitting like soldiers, sitting upright. I don't know where did this come from. This is not traditional. You just sit there calmly, and just be you as you are. And these are things, people watch and they go and copy, and they go and do it because this person's doing it. Which signifies you don't even understand why you're doing it. It's not yours. I go around like today, they said everywhere I go, my staff always call up in advance and said, hey, just be aware, the chair of the GCC don't wear salu when I go to any a guest or something, because it's not, I'm from Lesotho, we're from the bush, there's no flowers in the bush, so we don't wear salu. That's what my father told me. I said, why don't you wear salu? I said, there's no, he said to me, there are no flowers in the bush, son. Kei don't wear salu.
It's better for you anyway.
Yeah.
Now, in relation to a lot of concerns raised about the disrespect being shown to teachers in schools, the increasing misbehavior in schools, it's coming from everywhere. The teacher unions have raised concerns and they're saying it's getting out of hand. Majority, of course, we are saying that the different structures need to do different things right. And what is the Great Council of Chiefs planning to do? Because this is a very serious concern now.
Language and culture, it may sound distant, but culture is what defines us. Culture is who we are and what we are. The parents, and that's why we have that subcommittee to identify this. But to answer the question, the first part of it, it goes back down to the parents. The teachers, who are in the unfortunate situation or position to be going through this, shouldn't be going through that, because that's not their job. The behavior of a child is a parent's job. If you remember the beginning of our discussion, I said that there's a lot of stress out there. We are in a nation, traumatized people. People have been traumatized, but they just don't realize it. Stress is a silent killer. The parents are stressed, they don't realize it, and they're starting to miss things that they're supposed to do. The child are not looked after, and I said that this morning at the parade. When you sit down at the dinner table, look at the children's eyes and ask yourself, do I really understand my child? Do I know that he's okay, or he or she's going to be okay? Have you been keeping track of what they've been doing, where they're going? Because if it's only then that you can fine-tune the behavior of your child, of your children. Unfortunately, in the Toke culture, there's so much distractions. You have the church goings. In a week, there'll be 4 or 5 times that dad goes to something, mom goes to something, and then dad goes to drink grog, and then mom just join their friends, and the kids are left alone. which is a dangerous thing when they're going through the development stage of life. They haven't really fully developed the decision-making process, and they go out and meet other kids who are also in the same boat, who have been neglected. And these young kids, they make up their own minds on what is right, what is wrong, and that's where they end up in trouble. And such behavior, the sense of belonging, they lose the sense of belonging, because that's what kids go together, because they want to belong to something, and they come up with wrong ideas, and the behavior is different. And when they go to school, and unfortunately, it's the teachers who wear the brunt of this.
So the teachers are expected to parent?
No. Now the expectation is...
Well, the expectation is that, okay,
no, but they're not.
But they cannot do that, because
it's not their job.
And the issue that I'm asking about, do you think, it is becoming a real concern that the level of parenting in a lot of houses, and this is no judgment, we see the amount of children, underage children on the streets. A majority of them are seen to be okay.
Yeah.
I drove the other night to drop someone off, and I came past one of the housing subdivisions in Nasinu, and there were girls as young as about 10 to 12 years old out at about 10:30 at night. And it's definitely not right, because and they just roaming the streets. We did ask police, what can you do about it? They're saying the parents should be looking into this and raise the issue of negligence. But what's your message to the people who are watching this? And we know there's several cases of this incident that I've talked about.
Well, like I said, it starts with the parents. You need to, in the TV, there used to be this in the television programs, it's 10 o'clock, do you know where your children are? When you don't know where your children are, the children wants to belong to a group. And if they're not loved at home, not looked after, not enough attention being paid to, then they go out. Then they go out somewhere to where they can feel affection, either with friends or others. And that's where they end up. It is really sad. Perhaps, there's something that the Ministry of Home Affairs need to look into. Laws in New Zealand, if a child is found in the streets like that, and they know that the parent is taken to task, there are laws in the country that looks after that. Perhaps it's something that we need to start looking into, reviewing the laws that about loitering and all that.
As the GCC chair, will you be talking to the government about some of these issues, knowing that majority of the youth that are involved in this are the okay?
We will be, definitely, because just in the recent week, last week, I think there were 2 days we spent going through these issues that we see in the papers every day. Drugs, HIV, there's a few other bits and pieces. Suicide, yeah. That we need to look at this. And I was up at the camp yesterday, talking to the commander about a few aspects of it, that we need to look at this holistically. We can't really, because if you look at, today, I read the paper this morning, I scanned through it. I think a couple of ministers saying we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. Yeah, but what are the strategies? A lot of the things, the solutions being targeted today, and the reason we talked about it is this: there's not enough strategic level planning to look into these solutions. A lot of the Band-Aid treatment, which is tactical level, the drugs, they come up with this, no criticism of the decision, but they look at the Bureau. Okay, it's the operational level. But I think there needs to be a holistic approach where they need to set up something for at the strategic level. The drugs, for instance. I think we perhaps need to bring back and establish a national intelligence structure where all the stakeholders tap into. And because some of these problems, like the drug is now leading into others. And this drug is not coming from, it's coming from outside. And you can't fix that by trying to work at the tactical and operation level. You need to work at the strategic level, and that's where we need a national level of intelligence set up. We had one. Unfortunately, the command structure wasn't thought through properly, and that ended up in being manipulated. Mr. Chowdhury got rid of it.
Got very political.
FIS,
the intelligence service.
yeah. We need something like that, so the military, the police, and all the stakeholders can tap into. And once you have something at the strategic level, then the foreign intelligence can also link with you, because you are now at that level. You're at the top table to play with the big boys. Because at the moment we're only looking at trying to fix things at the tactical and operational level, which I believe, at the rate we're going, we're beginning to paint a very fast-moving train right now, because that's all we're trying to do. We need to step back and think.
Well, just earlier today, the Minister for Women, Children and Social Protection, Linda Tambuya, has said, we need to go hard on this, and she's even suggested that we need to bring the death penalty in for those people who are bringing in large quantities of drugs. We are reaching that point that this is the Minister for Women and Children who's made a call. We know under the Constitution it's unlawful for corporal punishment. I mean, death penalty does not exist in Fiji, but she's calling for it, that this should be brought in. I mean, from the government perspective, as you said, there needs to be a concerted effort, a well thought out. And are you included in these discussions, knowing that you hold a very crucial role as well?
With discussion with the minister?
In terms of the whole issue, the social
I
issues?
was saying to someone last night that we haven't, we've been hearing about these drug pushes and all this. I haven't heard anything about the dealers, the kingpins. Fiji is so small, there can't be, how many months now? We should have been able to identify the kingpins by now. It's such a small place. I know, because we worked intelligence in this country. We picked up a cool plan within months of it's being hatched, So it's not a small, it's not a big place. People talk. But how we haven't been able to do so is something I struggle with, because those are the people.
Do you believe that some people are hiding that information?
I believe they're connected. I believe they're connected to people who are protecting them. And that's the only way such people can continue to survive in a small country like Fiji.
And that's why you're saying we need to move quickly?
We need to move quickly. We need to get set up at the strategic level to put plans in place, and a sanitized organization where they can go and even investigate organizations like the police, the military, the whatever, bureau. Because these places, that's what the drug dealers go after. They go after the very people who will stop the operation and infiltrate it. And we see, unfortunately, every now and again, we see members of the police force compromised. It's not the police force that is bad. There's always one rotten apple in the barrel every now and again, or everywhere you look. But bring back the death penalty. Yeah, I think I understand where she's coming from, but perhaps this needs to be thought through better before we get to that. I mean, there's still other things we can do, like increasing sentence for certain people and really harsh penalties for, because the penalties are outdated. They need to be reviewed for drug dealers.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, Ratu Viliame Seruvakula. We'll continue with the social issues because this no doubt concerns you. As you said, you were up at Kei Viti even talking to the army commander, and these issues really matter to everybody in relation to drug dealing in usage. Syringes, needles found everywhere in different neighborhoods. We can see people, there have been concerning stories about even, for example, a young boy, the Drug-Free World Fiji founder, Kalesi Volatambu, had shared this story. A young boy came to Suva from the Maritime Islands. The family said, don't worry, to the family in the Maritime Island, we'll look after you and for further education. Very young, about 10 or 11 years old. Left on the wayside here, neglected. In the end, started selling methamphetamine for one of the drug peddlers and ended up using it, got addicted because meth is highly addictive, and then started to get his hit, would even have to sell himself, became a prostitute at 11 years old. That's just one of the stories. There's many. There's drug addicts as young as 10 or 11. Syringe use high. And we can see even it's shown in the latest HIV statistics that we'll be talking about. Let's talk about drugs. You've said we need to be strategic. What is your message to the government, knowing that on the ground these situations are coming up every day?
I think we need to step back and stop going on in the media and just saying, because all these comments being said in the media, they almost like it's starting to sound like a bad record player with without much substance in it, not enough direction for action in some of them. The problem is real. The people in the villages coming into town, and then you have this overcrowding in the, when you're talking about Itoke, a lot of things have been focused in the villages. The biggest problem in Itoke is in the towns, in the settlements, where we have, most of them are Itoke. Overcrowding. I'm glad that now they are talking to the Minister for Housing, Mr. Melumisa, the Honourable Melumisa. They're now putting together a plan to scope the big settlements, to find out, because some of these settlements, there are people who have good jobs. You look at the settlements, some with nice cars, and they should really be paying rent or probably staying somewhere, and they're just creating these settlements. And so they're going to scope. Won't say the name of the settlement, but they're going to go into these areas and try and fix this. And a lot of this crime stems from those places, because it's where you send it. And that's not the new problem. Children being sent by their parents to Suva for families to look after them, but because there's already overcrowding in those houses. Some kids left neglected, and there's where some of them even get abused. Sexual violation is another, sexual assaults, and that's where they occur. Drugs occur because there's no jobs, and there's so many mouths to it. And we've seen this, and I've seen this in countries I've worked in, wherever with this social break, they stem from overcrowding, poor education, of course, and in overcrowding of settlements. It is to do with the traditional support system, where Fijians, we are a communal society, so you are expected to look after your relatives when they come to Suva, and that seems to be no problem in the past, because people had jobs, people were well educated enough to understand the need to look after those. It's a combination of issues that's starting to show, unfortunately, a moral decay in the society that's leading to those, and these are what we're seeing now, are just the outcomes of those.
Ratu, what is worrying now, and you're right, you pointed out something which is very important, that the problem is known. Everybody knows the problem. It's time to fix it. Yeah. And it's time to move quickly, as you said, to get to the drug pins. You know, the kingpins as far as drug dealing is concerned. We know that there's millions of dollars worth of methamphetamine. They cannot be coming through the plane. They're coming through our waters. You have a military background. How do you think we can cut off the supply?
Well, you need to, that's why we need to have a strategic intelligence network to work this out. Because this is way beyond our shores, way beyond our borders, where these things are coming from. So we need to have that level of resource that, when you're talking about a strategic intelligence network, we need to resource it with personnel. And, there are already well-established such institutions around us, the New Zealand, Australia, the Americans. And I remember they came the last time when we set up FIS, there were a lot of help from overseas. But unfortunately, it's the very people in Fiji, the very people in the government and the other institutions manipulated it. It can still be established and can still become a properly run institutions to achieve what it set out for. And that's what we need to have in order to target, to identify, to go beyond our borders and know where these things are coming from and how they're operating. We're looking at, when you hear the way those people take in charge of this, the bureau, they're talking about all what they're seeing on the coast here, what they say, what they picked up from checkpoints and all this. These are right at the coalface where these things are being used. We need to go back. We need to go backwards from where they're coming from, and try and map out the logistical chain of where this thing. And one of the easiest ways of tracking it is to follow the money. Follow the money. We have government institutions that are authorized to look into these things. We now have financial forensic investigators. Follow the money always leads to where this thing is coming from.
My issue is everybody's already saying it's a national crisis. I'll go to the other issue, which is also mind-boggling, and it continues to increase. And the other issue is we need to intensify the campaigns against these issues, and this is in relation to HIV. 552 new cases just announced last Friday from January to June, and then we have 85 of those confirmed as through injectable drugs. Now these are the people who have gone forward and gotten tested. It's voluntary, it's reported cases. Definitely there's more cases out there. Again, another concern, majority of them eat okay, Ratu.
It is a great concern. And like you said, we all know what the problem is. It's trying to come up with what we need is the government to come up with the solutions, come up with the strategies on how to fix these things. I think something I've noticed, and I think I'll mention this. I'll come back after 25 years being out of the country, and I now begin to work with the Tokyo Affairs. And this is no criticism of the Tokyo Affairs, because I've seen it in other government ministries. I'm seeing it across the Suba, where I've been working, people I talk to, when we talk business. There seems to be a reluctance to think, maybe not reluctance, perhaps it's they do it unconsciously, afraid to think outside the box. And I think this is, that mindset is leading into, is perhaps a hindrance to finding solutions to this problem. Because we all still trying to think inside the box. And in my opinion, perhaps the reason this is happening is in the last 16 years or whatever period that this antagonism of people these were good civil servants, but perhaps because of the way they have been led or directed, and I can't help notice they are so engrossed in little rules and regulations. No, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. Think outside the box. Well, instead of thinking, hang on, let me find a way to get it done. It's the other way around. Oh, no, you can't do that. And I think because they became numb to it over a period of time, that it's become a norm. And I think that's one of the reasons why these critical issues have not been resolved easily. People keep saying exactly what you're saying. They know what the problem is. But we need to think outside the box. It's a time to think outside the box to come up with the solutions of these things. The Honourable Minister, as you said earlier, said bring back the death penalty. Well, there you go. It may sound draconic, at first glance, but there are countries who use it. Singapore uses it, Thailand uses it. And look at does it solve the drug problem? No. Still have drug problems. But, so it's time to think outside the box and find solutions to this problem.
And people may agree to disagree, and it's about having that dialogue and the discussion where your role is very important as the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, because majority of the Itoke are getting affected by it. I'll talk about violence against women and girls. The statistics, horrifying. 2 out of 3 women have endured some sort of violence. And Fiji is holds one of the highest rates of violence against women and girls in the world. As a Great Council of Chiefs, what are you planning to do about that? Because these are our mothers, our sisters, our wives who are getting affected.
I was mortified when I was shown the statistics. It was horrible. In my work around the world in the United Nations, as an advisor to the heads of the United Nations in the countries I worked in, one of the parts of my work is to look at the risk that the UN personnel are exposed to in this country. So I need to understand the dynamics, security dynamics, what all the happenings in the country. I was shocked to see the statistics of Fiji, a country where we have a proper policing system, a proper judiciary, starting to become proper, and we have a country where a lot of people believe in God, I've been in the country recently, I worked in a country recently, where the sexual abuse, I looked at every day, I looked at on a weekly basis, I see how many rapes during the week. It's terrible. In the country, and I can understand that, because the police are so corrupt, and all the system is just falling apart. The corruption starts from the head to the tail. And then when I come to Fiji, and this was just 2 weeks ago, I think I was exposed to these statistics. It's more than the country. And I was going, there's something very wrong here. We got so close to declaring, I think at one stage we declared that we were a Christian state. Christianity, which is majority of Itoke, talks about caring of, exactly this, looking after mothers, looking after the girls, making sure that everybody has a safe place to live in. I heard the church talking last night. There was somebody talking on the television recently, and talking about that. We need to, that was yesterday actually, talking about the church needs to relook at itself, I am so hopeful, I'm really hoping that next week at the Methodist Church Conference, they talk about this. If there's anything they talk about, this is what dominates. because it's something's very wrong here. We go to church on Sundays, and yet this thing is happening right in our houses. Incest. And you look at the age group of the victims, it's unbelievable. I can't believe it's happening in my country. When it happened in the countries I worked in, which are mostly in conflict or post-conflict, or under dictatorship, of very corrupt governments, that's nothing compared to ours. Our figures are terrible.
And the other issue is that majority of those cases of our young daughters, in the case of rape and sexual abuse, etc., child abuse, in majority of those cases in Fiji, the perpetrator is known to the victim, which is even more concerning.
Now, when I look at those countries and when I do those assessments and I do analysis on figures and information available, there are three things that always come to the fore: overcrowding, poor education, and pornography. Easy access to pornography. Like I said on a couple of occasions in our talk, that the child is developing from 3 to 17. If they get exposed to this, and we know pornography is its own addiction, and the mind, the young mind, to make the right decisions, to make the right call, to believe, to make sense of what he's looking at, is not fully developed, and they're exposed to this. Now, there's no criticism at the service providers, the Digicel, Vodafone, and etc. They're providing a service which is making it possible for people to talk to each other, communicate in emergencies, but it's easy access for young kids. That's a problem. Now, I understand, I do acknowledge the fact that it's a matter of choice for individuals. It's a choice whether you go down that path or not. But what about those who are not fully developed to make their decision? What are we going to do about that? So the government is to come with a good strategy rather than just saying, oh, no, it's a matter of choice. We all know it's a matter of choice. But those young minds are not fully developed, and we have to do something about it.
You said about 3 years to 17 years, and you're looking at certain things, inculcating certain things within the system to make sure that the young people, understand the values of good behavior, respect, values. Do you believe that you'll be able to, you're piloting it in QVS at the moment? Do you believe as you go along, after you finish with Ratu Sukuna Memorial School and maybe others, that you bring that and the education ministry sort of includes that as part of a virtues and values program across the board?
I've had one discussion with the PS of Permanent Secretary for Education. We talked about something, and we did touch into this, that the education system, that's where it needs to start from. We need to be able to talk about, because some of these topics are taboo. In the traditional, you don't talk about sex with the little kids, but it's time to talk about it. It's time to find out the proper platform or vehicles to use to get the message across. Because we're talking to the parents to talk to their children, but we can also, perhaps if it's hard for some parents, the teachers can do it, to tell them but at home, the parents need to guide the children along on the taboos of sex, and looking after your family members. Unfortunately, there will always be the old, there are some perpetrators who are even as old as my age, 65, 64, 63. For those, it's nothing. I mean, we can only rely on the judiciary system to deal with those young people. But for the young children, it's not only getting involved in it, but how to avoid getting caught up in it.
Abuse of grog. I heard that in your own village you have tried to do some things, and to make sure you coming back to family, stressing the importance of family, and you've started within your own village. If you can share that with the people watching tonight.
Well, in my village of Masautoka, what we've done is it's something I noticed that when we, especially on Sunday lunches, Sunday lunches in the village is big, is special. Where the women folk of the families of the Matangali prepare food, and we all sit down as a Matangali and we talk and we eat, we share a meal together. But it's very common that after church, the men will go and what they call the lubanitai, to take off the tie, and they go and have a bowl. And there are people who, once they have one bowl down the throat, they have to continue. They can't go and eat. And then all this food, well-cooked meals by the mothers, only the children sit there by themselves with the mothers. And so when Dad passed on, and I started to relook at how we could move along with the time, how we can best utilize time, and I realized that the biggest challenge to this is the family. If I can bring the family and get the foundation right, then we can build. So I got the boss of all the heads of the Rus and Matangalis, and we said, and I presented the case to them and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to ban drinking grog and go on from 11 o'clock on Saturday nights until the Sunday is done. Observe Sunday, be with your family, and also the first week of every month, there'll be no drinking and Angona. It's because we split up the weeks in the month. The first week is to do anything to do with the church, whether it's fixing the church, planting the ndalo, the gardens for the tala, the Voqa, or the school. That's when it's done. And in order to do that properly, there'll be no drinking grog till the first week of every month. So that's, we've gone a few years now, and they're used to it. And it's become very useful, they become productive. The first week they said, oh, the nights are so long because there's no drinking grog. I said, well, get used to it because that's how we're going to go. And they got used to it. Now people...
More time with the family?
Yeah, they sit down with the family. I said, look, spend that first week with your children. Look at their homework. There was an idea to say, oh, can we have the village hall where they all go and do the homework? I said, okay, the first question is, who's going to supervise homework? Are the parents going to be there? Well, we were doing so and so. Good, then go home, you look after the homework and deal with it. No drinking and going at home if there's kids doing homework. So, and we have the mighties to go around doing supervise and make sure that these things are happening.
Keep everyone in check.
Keep everyone in check. So, and it's working.
That's great. Maybe we need to expand it further into other areas. You being the chairman, maybe you can take the suggestion up.
I've shared it with some. You'd be surprised. There's quite a few places now that are doing that.
They've started to do that.
Yeah.
We know Lutu village. I heard much earlier. Lutu was doing that. After that, they started that major cooperative, Ndalo cooperative company. In relation to, we've seen the issue of land. A lot of talk about land and Ito Kei land. Of course, more than about 92% of land in Fiji is Ito Kei and well protected. The issue of availability. We had the Deputy Prime Minister Manoa Kamikamiva on the show last week where he talked about that $6 billion worth of projects are in the pipeline, quite a few agriculture related. Fiji Water, the wonderful company looking at major commercial agriculture which can unlock a lot of potential there. We have to diversify, not just tourism, but we learned our lessons from COVID. Where do you think we can come in? This is a big issue as far as land is concerned, which can also be a good return for the landowners as well.
When the leases expired, and some continue to expire, or some will be expiring soon, unfortunately, a few years ago, it was politicized. That instead of allowing the sugarcane, I think what the reason some of those land became left bare, were left bare, and I think one of the reasons behind that is people are not happy to lease it because they get nothing, not much out of it, but unfortunately, the lands are now empty. It's not being used, not being utilized. And it's okay to utilize the land. Unfortunately, one of the challenges we have is we don't have capital for especially those land in Ba, the sugarcane belts. Those are places, if you go into agriculture, then you need mechanical agriculture. And to have that, you need money to have that. But the regions, they don't have the capital, don't have the savings. When you're talking about the land, if you're going to look at the lease, the lease money, some places have done it now. The Tokay, what's his name? NLTB, Tokay Land.
Tokay Land Trust Board.
Trust Board, yeah. TLTB, that's the one. My apologies. So they have now come up with ideas to hold some of the money, the lease money. They can take it and save it and invest it, on behalf of the landowners. So we've done that. We blocked our lease money to be invested into, and it's a matter of explaining it to the Matangali, and everyone agreed with it. Fine. So now we're progressing in setting up a cocoa plantation with the Ministry of Agriculture and the New Zealand consortium to expand, to use our land. Now we're starting off with 300 acres. But as you mentioned, the Lesotho, there's 2 villages. We have almost 15,000 acres of forested land. We're using a very small fraction of that, not even 1,000 acres being used. So this is what we want to do. We're going to expand into the cocoa, revitalize with the Ministry of Agriculture, and we also now we're taking this to the GCC for their endorsement to take this around the southern, the southern belt. You got the sugarcane belt up the top to reintroduce cocoa around here, and also in Wunoleu, for the Tokay to utilize the land that we have, so that we can contribute effectively to the economy, and this is one of the reasons the Tokay. I think you mentioned something earlier on, and I got onto that, but then we moved on to something else. That the Tokay continues to be pressured. We have the biggest chunk of land, and when the resources come with it, resources rich that come with it, but we're not utilizing it. So we need to, in order for this country to go forward, and the Tokay to be settled, in a comfortable position, we need to do that to empower them economically, to improve economic empowerment. So because one of the Tokay is fine. They have money, they have all the resources, everything's going good. The whole country will be fine. It's the Tokay when they are all, they're not getting the resources, they're not utilizing the resources, and that's all these problems keep popping up, because it's like an unsettled group of people, if you like. But how do we settle that? It's the use of the land. So the GCC is looking at that. We're going to take this to the GCC. They could endorse that, because they already asked that question. For us to go away and come up with an answer, how do we improve economic empowerment? We're looking at culture, we're looking at language, we're looking at education. How are we going to fix that? So that's what we're taking in. But the sharing of land, it has to be, that's another thing. It's pointless holding on to land if it's not utilized. It's that scare, that worry. People are afraid from, I think a lot of it was to do with politics. People, tell them that don't give your land away. No, we need to open it up for development.
And you believe that you are in that direction through the Great Council of Chiefs to ensure that you allay those fears?
You'd be surprised. The Great Council of Chiefs today are very open-minded, and they're really looking into it. Quite a few of them are all into this, are already entrepreneurs, and thinking along those lines.
Looking forward to that. The issue of unity in the sense for the Itoke, and of course through the Great Council of Chiefs, you're starting that process again, and unity in the sense of national unity amongst all the races, because there's still uncertainty within the community. Some of the communities, the fear factor that the GCC is not for everyone. And the Prime Minister made it clear when the GCC was re-established that it should be the GCC, or the Great Council of Chiefs should be for everyone. What's your message as the chair of the GCC?
The welfare of all Fijians is the government's responsibility. We all voted them for that, voted them in. The Tokei, the responsibility of the Great Council of Chiefs is to ensure that the Tokei, everything that is Tokei is protected and developed for the future. In the past, we always talk about protecting the Tokei. We need to open up, we need to get out of that and take it forward, take it a step further and say to develop the Tokei. My responsibility as the chair and from the Secretariat is to guide, so is to prepare information, do research, get information and present, table it to the Great Council of Chiefs. Make sure that there's sufficient information that they are well informed before they make decisions on any subject. And part of that is to make sure that they are aware that the decision they make on this particular issue has a part of it will be affecting the minority ethnic groups. And then you take that into account. Because if I don't, then we have failed, because the chiefs are the chiefs for everybody. In terms of looking at the government is responsible for governance. The chiefs is responsible to make sure that there's harmony, that everybody is looked after, no one's left behind, everyone is happy in the community, because they own the land where everybody, all the groups are in.
My final question, and we touched a bit in the start on Truth and Reconciliation Commission. You said it's important where we head from here. One of the things is the 2013 Constitution. Of course, it was brought in without any parliament. A lot of talk is going on. Now in parliament, both government and opposition have agreed that there should be review, but everyone's views should be taken into account. There's also fears among some in terms of what if this takes away some of the rights of the people, or equality and issues like that. What are your comments on this planned review of the Constitution?
From the GCC's point of view for the Tokei, I would like to see a constitution that safeguards the state, the sovereignty of the state, and the Vanua. And so, because let's face it, let's be honest, there were quite a few things that were put in the Constitution or taken away from the other constitutions that has damaged the Tokei structure. So there will be a lot of fears in that. But what I would like, I've been asked this question, what do you like, what kind of constitution do you like? I said, it's not up to the GCC what the constitution is like, it's up to the people. All we would like to see is that the constitution is done fairly, is the widest consultation, that everybody's views is incorporated, because it's not the GCC to decide what goes in the constitution, it's the people. The people need to decide what they want in their constitution that's fair to everybody and make sure and helps and guides them. So I think that's what the way we need to go in this, as far as this constitution. Politicians say, oh no, we should keep that one here, oh we should take that one, the army wants this, the other group wants this. Yeah, that's all your views, that's all it's all people's opinion. Put it out there, widest consultation, let the people decide what they want in the constitution.
So you don't have a list at this stage on what you would like changed or reviewed?
No, I think it'll be unfair for the GCC to say we want this. But all we want is to want the people. So if you say it's okay, let them speak up. Let them say what they want in the constitution, because it's their constitution.
Dr. Viliame Seruvakula, thank you very much for your time. Before we finish off tonight, you highlighted some serious issues. One, the responsibility of the family. Two, the Itoke community, how it should be responding to issues. And three, issues like drugs and HIV, real contentious issues for us that more strategy needs to go behind it, and we need to act quickly. Based on that, what's your comments to the people before we finish off tonight?
Oh, well, look, we are going through a very challenging period in our nation's history. As I mentioned earlier on, we have come through some very turbulent, turbulent waters. The challenges are many. on behalf of the Great Council of Chiefs, the Council, I would say the most important thing is to come together. We can't tackle this in isolation. There's no room for playing the blame game now. And it has to start from the top. The leadership starts from the top. From the government, I urge you, Mr. Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, the people need proper guidance, need strategic guidance. Band-aid treatment from it all across all walks of life is not going to help the nation. Unfortunately, the world is not going to wait for us. The train has left the station. We have come out of the chaotic period. We need to fix problems now before our children accept it as a norm and transcends into generations in the future. Let's help them. Let's leave a future for them that we experience, that you and I experienced in our lifetime before the last 16 years. So once again, on behalf of the Great Council of Chiefs, it's been a pleasure and an honor to be here today to share with you the views on the questions that were put to me this afternoon.
Level, and that's the chairman of the Great Council of Chiefs, and that's the show for tonight. Have a great evening.
Do manda na nonda dengu leka mentar ngada manda indona sere. Enda sana pararong saray ni nangononggo kinendo na vital no karto katona may na may TV may nonda banua robi taptik may kina kana pakilis-lisi cho kata mangyo karo vital no tukina kina turangay tala-tala Reverend Simeon Tungi may nabal ni bola-bola ni Fiji Council of Churches ena nonda banua Ron vital no tukina vida na sara na vika lilebu kambimbi kandondo na menda vital no takatiko o kenda na Kei Viti kambimbi kenda na lutu wa Kristo ena vika saya da tungo nonda banua ena ngaon sar ngaongo enda sana barong saran kina ena ngonongo
ni sambula bina kana turang kian marama sabung kana to bulang yaran to mendandar wa turang ina bi ulutang eso kan do labiti de kemen onde wasin ngoni wa taro singa bini ko man do bulang italiti ko na abuni bola lebu General Secretary ni Fiji Council of Churches Reverend Simeon Tungi en vital no mangara bitu singa bini ko vida na kalile go labiti de ko mai ko manung na mendam vital no ta kana singa bini da yanda sulit ko menda taltawa na budi bola lebu Council of Churches ndoro no me bang bulati mo da bikin da bigiti ko bikin no samti ko mai eda bi sebiti so ni bulbinak emeni do sa mundar mani bang bulan
wan bulati we kemni na turang gen marama darbo ngone lewa wan bimbichi we kemni na vesung sungolote non do nua we kemni na kaslewu na turang bete ne wa bubuli ne wa tawa weekend na do bunau wan bulati we kemni uni tagani na singale ni kwa elan do ngone vinagan non da we wasei non da soli wakasama ka tobole amenda reda wato kenda na iwali ni lenga ka wan boto chigo ni chigo kina na non da tavi o kenda na vingara bolotu ni kuwa na kena wali lewu na lenga lewu sa taratu non da vonua na bolewu tsakatam
sa ni ber ngai do tarani na utu ni kadro be vital nota kan skele ni ko ayo bina kata mo bako sukai kemni tal manda Rato bola tokong gondo na bola badur tokong gondo na editorial comment tokong gondo newspaper zabuti toki ne zamani tukona toka na tu zabuti toki na turana endita na kai zabuta na General Secretary ni Fiji Council of Churches Reverend Simeon Tungi ngai zabuta toko na kani tukuna ni na lenga Kei Viti tingo social issues pagambimbi na drugs ni zabuta tobango tuni bango ni na lenga go sinron da lipa tola ina matentu o kere mo ni taratale mandra ka ni tukuna toka
vina vale wa tabuta tiwe ya ni drugs ko demonic ka whatever kembelembal ke ka whatever ye ndondonu amena wuli na ka vayalo na ka whatever very spiritual kembelembal na matentu ko ndambe takachingo ni ndondonu me no nitavi ko sinron rida nga ni rarida wirna tamata vayalo.
Someone nga ni sinrida, they don't have the powers to deal with it.
And they don't have the power to deal with it. Ando sabsunga na itukutuku bimbi o binata menda vando ta weekend na nda una o se weekend na tamatolotu ni sule weekend na kaukau na kalo menda mbutunga ngeki na ulu ni tevoro. Ana keni mbal sana ko binata mbukatiwa. E chuga weekend na kaukau. And the round in the Novukena Matintu, around the Vukena Vonua, na lead role, ni kena uli na velenga todo on social issues, but in spiritual causes, and an in spiritual interventions. And dona kamen dan vitan lo mantikin of one bimbi, vakas and then building a chicken itaringo. Saying an wunin on the one bullet saranga, and that dilta go kenda, na spiritual realm. Ni vika na vava koso elora and the single ni viva latigo but again na vika lorai and the viva latingo but again na vika taurera is ko ni chimoni andona kame wan bimbita ke
ko the buto to nang gasili bu Methodist indona ngona that desire to get drunk non rangan re pa mateni ra pangataka na wainganga ser pangataka na batale ka pa kaya luti ko ko na ya lo ngangan riti ko ya sen pangati chono poso na desire au talista na kani tu tongori na me sarokato irno tu de choni tutuni bunau ngo indona kamera na o kato irni non relenga merna dilta kai
on dinzar plan ni dare de mando kenda no luke wase vai na tin ka walu tin ga diwa kato vango na voltambu sa tuvia una lo chova me ubuno taka na visere ki vire revisuki na reita le vire matamboko non ra lore o ira na mulmulu mo ira na poverty ira kedengo Ya, orang era ciwi, era ciwi tumba. Kan balembal o kenda na nonda mai lotu, enta taka ciwi kenda na vakasama ni edification, na nonda viva tata kita ke vayal. Menda viva tata ke makanila. Menda viva tata kita ke vayal, mesule vi kenda na kau menda lagu ki ngai tumba. Na nonda viva tata kita ke ya ngai tumba. Kan balembal o kenda, libu nangona sanda rui inward focus. Santa ngula da vokenda na wil ni klo ko ya vareta ka luke no wase vartine diwa tini tinga wal tini diwa na turanga na ngon ne torki na kona ibol bibingi me bunna ubi rerchi na valni soro. That was the last time and basika kino ko na valni soro sa watching awaya and anona 3.5 years no na ministry tumbo todok senga talinga idurilom na nona durunga melo mane ocho chiningo na nona sala me go sa kotume no kuita mai kan kuita tagiru versa vi volito na valsor ane ocho chingona ken balembale o kenda na nonta focus endo ndo me chigu tumba menda kauta no lotu tumba menda kauta no lotu na basten menda kauta no lotu na bunu rafa kumuni batena bunu era tukina na lenga
bale tu irre vi un make their way to church
no
era sindra ko melama
ena sindro na rara machingo o ko ya ngitumba ngana bunu buto ni tunu bango kemuto na masima ke burubura na masima ngana bunu nrandralu ko kina kakan na nrandralu ko titumbongo sing chiguloma o kenda sanda vambulai santa kami zamai satu toko nandambula ia menda kauta ni tumba merau ni rangarabi ki na rawal mata kichungo ni tunu bango na matampoko meraretale o irna drug addict tungo ngori era matampoko tu walo o ira sa tabu tulendende na mateni na taba ngala tungo era matampoko walo engandre mi mela ko ne vuna ni
visriki
merarai o ira chungo tumba era risuki tu ana vuna ko sande de chugna bulum batendo ne besu yo kenda chubi kenda tukutuku menda ko ten tukutuku ni visriki
au no muni va madala chigo na luma na kai dabu tendo na turanga da buna wetu no ko sa totoko na da buli bom chugo lama na lenga ngai chugo bom ke ngo ka ka bot na lama sin do bom li ka bot itumba
yo na lenga ngona ni ka bot lama sa libu talengo na linu tsar lagu tumba basar mabota ligi na libu
ka bot chugo lama going back to drugs you said drugs is demonic kepa demonic na drugs kava is also drugs e wili talanga ko e no kovu ya nyoko e nduo na drugs na ngona kini balembale ni tugunu chugori dimoni ke wili chiki na ngona
en tambesar tungu lom ko sarang na china na tina sarang ni drugs to do lomengo e vielo vio ngona e lovi tabako e lovi suki e lovi marijuana Batete buto to kuma naka kwenda va marenga tol muni vale. Kwenda va marenga tol vi
ko sa mai tuki sa.
Yo ko sa tuki. Sa ba kanda rede tu me ndong na ivala ni to va vanua. Yenda se ni kila ni tu sar tungelo mana taka lebu ni te borongo. Ko sa ngai lo vi rechu. Santa mai pa bom ta kirju en ndo na ve lo vi pa to rendua en ndo na ngona. Ko sa ndaga me ndabetongo en drugs kona meths kona kakau ndondua. Kwenda no mu Kei Viti.
Santa ngula ta kwa buno no loma
Yo ko alonga na non rasa vas se vi kenda chungo na drugs a drum na matabu vale cornivuli na huna da banga vi korokoro sa drumen na kalibungo bartonga nga ninda ngula da kenda nindu na kasar nga nda no numa ni raw ni maru kenda sa vagabuno me ka total me sotal na tevoro no ndula
tarumanda tal na ibagarau ni nondang garaba na ngona nonda baka maringeta baka menemene ya sengali ni worship eta ka chuka na ngon au tarong
well sa kwanga ni sanda mekitak sa un karaba saranga sa form of worship se da bana keni ba matalenta na tunagi na se nang karabi sa un karaba saranga na ngona o de chuguna ngona teboro kempa sa un karabi ko saranga ena limbe non de ba matalenta na tuguna iyo nakanga ko sa worship ta nakagusang karabot ko. Ako
sala ko sali kalu tali ko biko.
Nakanga on karabo sa num kalu. Nyo sang karabo ndo nakamo sa bimbi da ke me biko asa kalu.
Nakamanda na alo fi ngai alo fi ni sa ko na ngona.
Ke wakasanga ni chiku na ngona sindona beta na lofi ena sindona nita whakatoka o kenda na dona vosa na lofi ke wakasanga ki na ngona. Ena sindona nita whakatoka. Sa ndampenga na ngona sa ndanga itu kono kenda na lofi. Ini sa chiku na lofi sa atasaranga na vingarai wabonua katodoko.
Sa baisika sanaki na rakango na worship.
Sa kwasaranga.
Ena senga beka ni tukuna ia sa damatana takai.
Ko ngana kambimbi na kata matan takai. Na kanta matan takai bimbi chu. Ron ta matala. Ya na ta wenda ta kawachu.
Da ba bini tiko na sekali bini ko ni ramai ndambe tiko na General Secretary ni Fiji Council of Churches Reverend Simeon Tuni. Aya tu na pisuri tingo na buku ni kawai nimbula kawai tiko na nrambula ni tambangone. Dona mati lolor ngali tu mai punotani ramai dewiri wabu itungo o mai taranga bitana ka ambal teni rapo sa chuka na pepa bitana kartu bol kina rendo bol tutu ko ambal tana ka madalata kana buni bol kau nanu mo meu pake kiling apa lele kina ma sigile buni ko ni berta ka taraini na utuni bitalno enda bitalno tigi na sigile bindi dai o le suba teleman tana ka nya tukuna ni svepa na lengango esini nona lengan mateni tu ambal tesa ngabirto ni kini wali ni bukan di talmande.
Ovina tamu varitaga chokataman kavnikua. Ni spiritual chigo na drugs, na okwa demonic, Kemblembal okwa mena voluce ni volvayalo. Yo the encarrava na volvayalo. En andona vunua. Kenda na lutu. But okenda da vitartara wata kena kluyalo e zagatalanga weekenda en ngonisala na spiritual realm ni bula. Kwa vayalo chingo kwa. Kemblembal menandana dilita kana ka vayalo ngo en vayalo talanga. Matentu okenda mendanga vuki na matentu okenda never kana Fiji Council of Churches ko prophetic voice to the nation. Kembal na lotu mena vosa tigo ko na matentu. Mena vosa tigo na vonua. Menda talanga na matentu batik na vonua me romero regulista na lotu. Batoka prophetic voice. Mendomo chigo ni klo. Ke baka chigo na ndona langan social issues. Na menataro mena matintu na tava na iwali vayalo ni kango me ndona vi talano ndona vi vosak me do boy dorji na consultation merondo consult each other ke vasenga ndona vaya mulebu ndo talana kai dona tura ndona dolo bulebu za tunga matan
Candida.
iya
Candida. As General Secretary Council of Churches kila sa virau chukuna kai ngarabiti ko na Council of Churches. Senado bito baka pertanya. Are we doing enough?
Gurin do talanga taro o turung signo valeu. Au tarong au. We can to volando buno santam bobuno takamanda kenda ninda contempt na drugs. Sampun to baka signo de buno vitia. Senta buno to chingo kenda na logolo malangin sulika na vika ketwa o kana kaya ngeloma. Eu ambo to kenda na logolo malangin santa sulimbulanga. Sa nonton ni foto-foto melo malang sebibi. Yang ko santari vuno vole loma santangule da vetumba. Nintangule da vetumba kila when the men of God keep quiet, sin thrives. Thrive chingo na iwala da watakin teori tautumba nimbula balatin santangalu chigo kenda. Okay, tal nangalu bata. Berarti dua tental ni buno tak chiku. Via nangalu ya. O se ni address tak bantu na issues.
Sandre chukuna kina trai na issues. Nde nanga iwa mavota so na liba bakos.
Ya kwa sara ndo talo na lenga lebungur. Bata saru inda ko iwa lebo kenda en dava meravia rongoda na tomata kanda senga ninda tuguno kenda na dava ndondonu mera rongoda. O kenda kemembale enda viva alo vina kata kichunga. Santa sin vuno ki na vandundun menda taraya no kenda na dava engan revi menda kila en raiva i voltampo. Sanda vuno takachiko na kami rongo bina ka o bina wali tala sa rongo bina ne vuno. Ya bada ne vuno ko ndondun me kauchir ki na vuno ndon menda bulakina.
Dira sara.
Okay baka santa tala tatigo ni ko
Ya na vuna so nando vuna. Rafati tuni ko ambalete ndra vuno takacho na kasintali ta ndalinganta.
Ko sarangangor.
Ya.
Ko sarangangor na lenga lebu sarangani ko ambata sa fakan dingi taktal jigo ne vuno mindarong wa Sayang ni dalang mi buana klo. Chigo na klo. Okay na tamata. Okay na tamata iwala ngona klo so soba. Kembal me vuno ta ke ni enaya sa ni klo. Menda rani ta toki mai okenda mena mnonda mbula mulmulumu menda yado yani menda vakana luvini kalo. Menda vi kenda talanga nanda ubunau enda sa ubunau chigo en vandondonu tigo. Menda taka vakavina balata na kadia kadivi kenda kina kalo. Kadivi kenda sarana kalo ina ngonongo. Isau todo ni kanda na vadormo ena ngari so tanga milo malangi. Dapuno wavinaka vakuko kako na sukai muru kako na lebe.
Sa tabuso itu ngono ulutanga lebu. Me pagli suitele mena totani mati. Tuguni ningo ero ni walia na lengari drug sa tungo.
Yo ndona raya.
Ndona raya.
Ndona raya. Eu ambo te chingo eu ni answers na turango Jesu Kristo. Sini mai saunitaro na tutungi mati. Rombega ni
eliminate ka sonaka ya
sing ni saunitaro ya. Barto kenda da dil ta chingo kenda na tamata wa halo talinga. Ero nda wa mati na tamata tumba. Ya vuana kalu mbimbi na tamata iloma Kembala mena asa ni lotu o Jesu chingo na wal nilenga.
Na wali.
Jesu ni wal nilenga.
Robio kaniti ko sa mai poso tiki don turang buni wai mbauleka. Dabuta to ko ya. Ni sa tuza ke ngamai o drugs esa na kambitu miki no HIV. Rongor no tuza ke bata. Vai tu na Council of Churches na
buni. Ndina sara batina bagsawa chi avana ndau chikali mana new cases Ruana undolu na kisi kwa sa kilai ni Kei Viti.
Right.
Walu sabulo ono wiramate na bagsawati. Ya na bengo to tunchi na puno na bagsawati 450 na mena double na bengo. Kamran balu ya enda vitalo chunga na walu ndrau gina dio ndrau na kisi bo. Ya na bagsawati vana ndrau chingali ma walu sabulo na pasende ni new cases. Era la come wir na idula. Kelmbal na vina merto na kotunda mai na matinifika orto na tambanimbula. Wir na limunan rau, limusabulo rongo, mai na chanuiringa kina tune. Vida na kisi kwa bangata kina idula. Kwa ende men matata manda weekend robi wakani vina sarchunga. Malte libu na nyokenda tekila tunga iliu na HIV and AIDS kwa atonga me na viedo.
Ndewe na viedo.
Iyo. Singa talengo sa andua
mai be keria ke be kene kasa.
Kwa sanga.
E pakan tanga ko ndua be ndua.
Iyo.
Yongo siang.
Ngo sanga. Sa mbakisa wo wal so pasente.
Kembali kertongo ele walu ndo tunga ne thula walu ke der nto bireke.
Ke vakai chigo bi ko ya eto mate. Ato mate rao chigo virtual walu ke der to mate todok. Bateni toru menu munra unga idula kino yao.
Sangai
pasuabu. Kena bale na numunra sa chukina na HIV man. Kitu ketran le walungo todok. Ya kwe sa tumbu serang kina watotolo na chimuningo nonda bunwa.
Kena bale sesaron da tukuna. Weekend da wakati kenda tiko metabata lutu pa Kristo lutu pa kalo ka Argentina. Menta buki totolo santa berra chiko kenda. Mena bi kaya do tingo.
Okenda enda vambulai sen membeli chikandanga. Enda vambulai membeli chirna wakanda. Kembali mbali menda daka vindonaka. Mesanta ka kuninda rechiko. Daka kuninda vimbeta kichingor ni tavin matentu. Usara nungu tavin usa vambulai nga. Mausa kauta ni tutu vinango. Ni kota chigo na tutu vinaka membaleta nangoni turango Jesu Kristo ano na vi vambulai levu. Katal chunga vira. Ni okwa ne wal nilenga sa tungo Mera lakotani mene valvaltango na drugs, na violence against women and children, human trafficking. Ngo kete na social issues. Ya menta sa tebu minta tukunen. Ya ena rawata mera tukuna ira non te vavako singa para sinikila. Ena vinango na kina vikete na tabuno minta na huli de zona ka membaleta na social issues. Total chuna lenga lebu ya. Au singa chuni ukara na kambata na drugs, mbata singa chubi onto information mbata na drugs. Ya ramuta kapa. Eu vangarni vuna ono vangara. Kembali we kilas on information yang bertena drugs on vangkaratal nga. Si bibi.
Tukuna tokon don turanga of fight against drugs is like rearranging the furniture while the house is on fire. Toro ko ke bandar sinta ka kindora ka lebu birongo ya nalako. Nalako ndorbuno resintan ramer le dabakinai. Sa nalengango itambangwani. Dabuta tokon turanga bunyo na madosawati. Tinika WALU, le lutsum saro ko kina tinika roto no ngai kota mo ko tinika ro kina tinika bitu Sangkai tu ko irna tini ka walu kina tolu sebulu kelima. Ninda rita go, ndani wili bungo ratambang wani. Thapa ni wali lek. Isa thaputa toko chisu, ia o irango o isin tutunga redi chisu, me sona kanda da kabai no kenda sa chuiloma, me roina redi chisu ki. Thapa rita.
Na tambang ni viti ko vaur da tongo revunua ko endo chuni katulu ni lo revunua. About 285,000. Yeah, mendalandinga mai no 35 to 40. Santa Thousand was 70% ni total population.
Yeah.
Kami talante tanga vale limuta lembaki. Ken balembale mendona kami na vogador vir ni tampang nongon go. Ye odi mi na vogador vir. O kenda to rasanga to sa chingo. Dan gai lola wer na gai beta gi ken dan baratin da sinia da ka va indona ka. Na sinia vunu ta vando to no vos nikro. Na non da tampang ni ke baka era sana voluci cavallo mataki na kami balata na drugs. Di ba kasama tao tumanda na nandasing matak. Sana bata tumanda na keniray-ray. Mera sa lagot durumo ira na bikango. Endo enda na bitay kino kenda na chungo. Ano vuna misanda tuta kasaranda po sa wakuko. Na vunu ni chikina kinabalimbali manda na pakasangaraw kenda so na interventions. So na kami raka.
Yes.
Iyo. Ya uri da chiga usa ukachigo ndo na vitortorongi na singa. Au vamboto ya na lo TV che senga chigo ni da kabasara va vinna kan no nitavi. Beratnya sosialisasi itu kok sa increase juga.
Yes.
Kaya kami ada kabar bina santul melutu. Kaya balen tuana disconnection di voita mere tungo en lotu watakira non de baba koso, batura non de baba koso nga chubir na lenka todongo.
Pina.
En tuana kaya ta sing ni van de wataka bina chiku. Vakabio thawa chiku non de bunau. Chingo na lenga non de bunau en da bunau chusango. Kembali lo kuai na non te baba kose duruma e koto meno nandendre o chine buno koto lestali. Sangai pangkarata lo kan to tan no to next week me durkina. Ano buno kuai na non talo no tu e sing do na increase verne al boe. Sa ta virtsungango werna sa harso limpulochi.
Ete alang amene pelotali tu pela pelotia.
Batendo no kan pangkaracho.
Orto no chuko itu bertutunga itu.
O to tu sa wele. Sa no to na tebora ra babelwele. Ana ka sa lori tuma ina vantin tiga sa pa lori tiga. Sini do na new growth na lo TVT sa libunga na non debito ka ki bate ke na tare song lo tubo bo. Sangai baka ni o takaba ya sa kaut saranga mai vir na vile da vir lutu. O di musa na wambota. Kung ano, batin senga chuni sotay wabinak. Igo na sotaba nga kaya baka tuno bir. Batin so andam ito nga drug addicts.
Yes.
So sotaba chuga violate teknon rambula men violence against women and children. So vaya lakutumo chuga na human trafficking, na poverty. Ana issue yan doon may address na iwanut.
Right.
Sento wara ka na matin tumilo may posabihin. Desa nga. Okay, ta sarang ng tubunaw.
Denasar. Denasar. Irre tambangoni ndor sala rikang wana utuni ka upina katame ndor mai vitano kin selebi kwa ur non dai tambangoni ndoni songo orto ngole men ko ibuno tanir to sa davir tingo ndo bonwa kere ni ngole manda ambal ter tu vaga daga bibol katsar chiko ke kemani
o kito partnership to partnership atager to na kitunga me sota chunga ng bagsaoti kito sa dosara na vital noya to sa buke kito sa buke to Gorto sa chunga ni bitingo dona buna lebu kito ko chirto mekina.
O di ortungo.
Gorto na planet shakers Orto na planet shakers. Dona songo lo tumbu totolo. Songo lo tule me Australia.
Okay.
Orto chunga Australia. Yana kangartung ge ba dororoto endo chiko na noroto bunu arato noroto expertise. Sai kwan youth evangelism.
Okay.
Iyo. Orto sange wa bungo de bese burbura. Baterto sa kilatal chunga urutu na lenga sa taratu non buru membele cirne tampangoni. Ano buno garto vitar maikin membele TVT kito sa vaio sa vai dorsal chigo na norto concert sa mai mada ro chingo. En mada sa uchir do chigo voli mai loto kai. To visi gorto na vi cornivuli na vi bunua eta tu so na vingarabi tol na singa norto concert. Auli chuki na wibu kichuga na ken katodo membelate norto bitosaki. Un dolu na tampong. Na usen bervo den sembore den dua na songoni. Mera tuta ki tu irna dhorbu ki ngone leo for almost 3 hours. Mai no ono ki na diwa. Senga nindu na toso, senga nindu na papala, na non sa focus i uira na vingara vela o tumengo. Erto sa kenan dausaranga ni kena capture taki na non attention na dhorbu ki ngone leo.
Na dama so chir tuta ka.
Orto, lang serang ako na gospel music, wata ki na viwasita ki na wasani klu, eh?
Okay.
Ko nga endo tani na kini vala eh. Au sem berni rede endo me da ka vati viti meru ni capture taki na dhorbu ki ngone leo, eh? Me pa eh? Tian te kla tura dhorbu ki ngone leo, era vala eh, o tinga ra vitosa ki sa lo.
Leka wala nga na concentration.
Leka.
O tinga sa dotala kadaka.
Ko ngo ya na buno sanga mi ba diro lo mi au new ndurjuma na stage eh na ngoza do ina ka dintarumbula eh na no za bitu zagani werna dhorbu ngone leo and wept au sinikila na da vertengida na ka ngau kila era convicta kina vos niklo wata kina kandendre la dhorumucho so endo na buno era me express ta kina uir na ndrende nimbula era la dhorumutu na non revising so na matavubu Asini matavubo so na família faces. O irendo redir na dhorbu ki ngone leo ndo aguti tau ni lotoka na city. Enta redir ni lo again. Au rede tolu na bongya eh. Ando na kana musini longo. Ur saranga rendo mbuto ba chiki.
Ento kana kango taltala ni na mbagi ni bula ritiki na. Mango nama kamera lo ke pa sana turanga na kuku ni kilometro so iradaki. Bolte ratambo ni chko eh. Na tamuli da vedaki au sa rotutungango. Tuna mandua ni reital tuir ni toka ni. Ia mendua me tuza ke menuno tukina bitir no ni toka ni. Gai kuti ko ekina olta. That's a miracle in itself.
Engos a miracle zona.
Yes.
Batanelo e non na klo eh. Ia. Na kanga menda da kaboke ndani volta mutu ndole bicho me burbura. Au ngai vogare arta girmenelo. Ortungo ortulla beta sara na klo. En i vogatangi watagina sere, watagina vosin klo. Ertulla beta chunga na klo. Sa
Bitur mo kichuko sere punau.
Ako sa chunga. So na tukunya leleka. Kan leleka nga. Ya sa mbuto toka sa nga.
Kin balim bala ka ke der tuva ka chuming kono planet seekers tailor made for youths. Taga do audience nga na youth.
Nakaure do yao. Esa varau tagi sa nga. Erto sa kenan daw sa nga. They are expert. En non revalu tu tagi uri tambungan. Kena capture tagin attention, vate kin viviso toga ni sere, ni vogatangi me rochire na ngonongo. Kona kaira marutaka.
Sangai pa koto toga na bosini ka.
Kangela oto na bosnikolo ko na ko kambimbi to iki eh.
Ko tuleraki ko chugelo mongo.
Ko convict na alo eh. Around become emotion na vogatangi kina sere. And emotions. Ia ko na kambimbi ko na rava na convict na ndombula. Ia na kangaro ni convict na ndombula sai ko na bosnikolo.
Bal da sinikila dentro sobir na lo vengur na olta. Maybe on drugs. Rasa te utara na marwan.
Oh, ambot. Eka wasan tonga chutawan sa kila sa kakana nga. Ka wan dua sa may bunduelas. Asa ken kakam sa nga. Ia mertonga lo vagani. Dentro tumbe ro tutanga na kakeda wa. Ia kasi nimbimbi weekend na ka imbimbi ni sa lo mendo may tangi tu matani kalo. Akire tu na vivosoti kretu na bule bisau. Ia na kanga u vina kata mo mai tu na talchunga ni ku endo buku singa tambo eh. Kona wa dorgina no to performance.
Ko na kada men sabora sa tu kitiki mengo na
ko kita kisaranga mengo. Eno lo mini matongo mai na moniti me dawa chumingo ngor to chigna bi korni buli.
Okay.
Na bi wase saranga
Fisiko aboki.
Fisiko aboki na group na bi bater to lero na ndra to chingo.
Endina
200.
Irongor lo tumengo ke nan duit tambana runding karaba.
Nor duit tambana vata ke na non
Expertise.
Rakota sartunga mai. Ravosa vir na dorbu ngone leo vir ngone vuli. Van bibitaci ni usa van bibitaci vir ke na kambrata na vir na ndongone na drugs. Sorto dilta sarcanga orto ya.
Sandira.
Australia na buno boitamer. Ya buno sa levu saranga na drugs.
Jelasar.
Erto kotonga me oroto na vulia me vogadori ke na intervention ya eh.
Okay. Ia nindarita talang na pangataki ni wenga ngani bi tintaki sambo wasaranga ko ya tungu na kortura na suba ke na kiana bi bono bola kata. Na suba no suri corrido di sombungo esa no bango kilami. na dhabarenra na makina tumbu-tumbu doni bi susu na ngone ena buni songo na singata bungo kena ngauna ni pakamatala takamanda na kenango
Eu sa vakireken dengan tumbu-tumbu doni bi susu ni alubinak ni kotsire na lumia muni go ndona vuno binaka elibu na ndende tsinga sanda sini wali aro yen tapang karata so tanle keni wali so na lotu ibiti vakara senga so tini ramarota kan ni ule kotsira batumena sa planet shakers au saka juga ni vango vir io enda chungo sanga elibu danga na ndende enda sutab
Domanda keni walingo me komanda mai.
Domanda keni walingo. Kaya mambalo kenda na vakasangara na keni wali todonga. Kaya baka igolomanan jina na nonda vanua. Vangara na iwali me vinaga ki nonda vanua. Oira na itampa ngoningo me Voqa. Vakati uwe sanda senga ninda wali arao chiko. Berarti kaya baka anda wali arao sa alutu mukau. Yang sanga tos-tos danga. Yang na kau nonda ivuna wata kena vika keda wae sa sandona ka.
Sini bisa urau na mindset makau ai. Bita tiu me ki tu vakabatu ngapang ko yesin do kay kune chiko.
Iya, santa vakabatu mentona ka sandang ke expectar chiko kenda different outcomes. Esa ngana sini vaya.
Sa chini kal minum paisin do bisa tumbu chunga wili.
Sandon lenka. Andun sanda turun kensera. Kembar sanda na vakar sangkarata lo kenda na bingon sala. Roni buke kinda. Un mata usawut usarida. Asandon ivan dinendina. Ni rauni rebuke urano di tampongone na matanggali kawango ira kota maya so. Uire tuvira na loloma kara kilawira na bimbi nelo wan bimbi tuwira na youth enonda vunwa
kime me asini tu na matha sawo chi mena sa sabara sombeka na rasa mjum goro chi buba pe so na kartu mai so takai tu irunguri eda pe lako so na one on one na vital no kirongo ser madanga na bimos pir na lokta ken na olta na lisulimbul
oh ya ni itu tanah kanguru bina tu wan bimbi takai niku Lewu talanga wiran doni bitumberi. Wana bisung sunglut sara matewu mer vitan loro batigirto. En sachu wiran don card kwana decision card. Kwa sa ron sulimbula kawyani. Dua chuna ngoni salvin na kawiganda. Batunga sim doni orto sim doni sunglut
orto sim may bakan dambelut.
Orto sim may bakan dambelut. Orto may buke na local churches.
Okay.
Iya, kian balik weekend dan ital-tal weekend dan dalawa ni value liu, mendali vitukun. Batin ni ucia ya nasulim mayor na kona decision kada weekend dan tangan reba, mendangai follow up lagi rawi rasa sulim bula. Ano binaki ni mendan dalawa ni value liu weekend dan na lutu
Iyo. Libu asam takan ya tunggu suri cuni tamu kan siang. Me suriti serangan na lutu.
Surit sarang na lutu.
Balik tanya urut unang bimbi na planet shakers o lutu nang gay dilte kira may sulim bulang.
Kwana taro levu sarame na taro ngachiwa ni sa artong ngai orto na plan shakes. Azaba na zaga vire rasa sulim bulutungo.
Sarang ko ule kata ko bango.
Iya.
Berarti sobir ko. Napakano ni chiko orto na may chiko usan na ilutun na lutu plan shakes. Kala muna mendar ta mata we.
Iya. Ken sarana do bitum bir sarame na lawada kan inda rivir na wira sa lawada. Koten na decision card ya. Value ni sarino marro saranga. Oh nangi follow up takir. Kebarangan dia benar bibuk.
Dinasar. Balik tayo ba siya nga nasulimbula ya na ilota kami yan sa nihatong ngay kaya.
Sa nihatong ngay kaya.
Ni irong ko Cebu. Pangan doon ng rami-rami.
Iya.
May nabuke, may natun pa na kaya. Kasi nga ko ng rami-rami ito nga.
Iya, sang kay tabi sarani sosongulutu. Kung tabi bimbin sosongulutu na discipleship.
Right.
Nung tumberi mer kaukawa, mer nganga, mer atatale, mer tebu, mer viva tesipil take. Ani tabi chukun sosongulutu ya. Wirna evangelist bang, wirla ngamer bunutang na pasni kalu.
Right.
Yan sungguh-sungguh. Tahu bisa suri cikan tetu kan sungguh-sungguh tu tiwa boki subanggo ndalaw ni wali lem dali bitukun. Dari diren na lupen daga warsa lauta ki asangun salah saranga. Dentu santa buno ciwa bi dersin lauta mai. Ya sangun sal mo sota birkina. Dir salah lauta ki asa paro rota kasana bigon doni kalau wai tamera.
Tal kendo nang wane pa rong to men ko na bulyo ki telepo. Sena telepo sa umbek rong da sarapato ko na bitanong ko. Natuna to me bangko ko na tar ada mungay ni kina. Ni urun tulay ni ki. Sabon ni natuguna bi ko ni nayanga pa lebu bi ko na buno borong to ko me na chiko. Bal na buke na sotabi lebu na kapo bo na marongo da rida talaga. Yana buni songo.
Iya. Limas na bulu lampas ke tu sa varo takachiko.
Ebit?
5 bulu. Go e
Free
free.
suci bibi tu sali baka punta
Free and free ma ya sama mimbi ko na virtu mai tele virtu mai rewa ala ka strani virtu na basi. Ke baka chugan do no muso ko lotu ni so lotu chukina vinika ten 2-0 se tolu se va na basi kamai. Vir rasenga ni lotu so na basi ngorto le tolu mo na basi to na bimbi mena sali. To sa ala chunga mai. Na basi na sese. Ahora dengan do na basi na sese ko chunga ngon sala ponto mai kina. Na vivo no todo ko metu mai lami kau te tau suva no sor me zara ni rewa bas todo ko
5 bulan basi
5 bulan basi
awa nambasingo vina kamerna kila irna wekan ko mai rewa ir mai tele nambasingo na vito se kichuna vida baleta ko rangu tama nangani
tol na koloko sa ngon chini pick up tol na koloko sa ketum bituan mem basin du valele basin na sese kun nga vale wiki su ni sa ore dengan don basin sese sa tu sala chuna sa ngori
no kumbasingo
ko ala sa mili pick tegiko
vinna ka bole
iyo
vinna ka bole te buna vida na songo na damo suci wada dama na damo suci na daka chuni sa te bungo no so
dia ba ton na family fundy en lomoni singa lewu chuna program en ba dur chuna tolu yang main concept vi manyono kemen bali na pick up chuna tolo kolo na basia en vien doni sa chuna no sana tevu ya chuma en 5 na ono koloko san don me santer chik to irara na ngona me sanga tevu kina ko en official program
okay na ka bole sa roro sa re ando nambasi na dawiri tugani be kemni na we kanta mai rewa te levu be kemdo no tingo isawani ba kina manesa sa balami sarunda ta te kenta mai kina biko mai biko listale kembali sindona lenga da dobito se kebango do mandana kai lenga rocho kitunga ibada bo kitung odi na likuch kituli suma ya sa tungo ndo nambasi bo ruti tiku 5 bulan basi ena biko tiku
ko ngona chokata mana ikaningem to doga no asa keda na sinu to doga ura keda na vi voi chuchuga kaba kauna ngolen no page baka ni na rede chuki na vono ni pick up kono vi pick up to doko pick up points ken ya sa mata ta chunga sa rede ngando na pasina sia sa wabu gen fonto sarama kit
se de mandona tal se matigo mengo ke na manitu na no ko mandona na boru ningiriki na bali chikito ni kito chuko ni sango e sinron dona ba se ya sar mengo inangel ndamu kito endona number ningiriti
920
iyo
3879 9203879
diwa ruosaiba tolua lubitu diwa ni bola namba diwa ruosaiba tolua lubitu diwa ni bola toka na kamatela lai ni vito seki nimbasi ni toronga na nambango ebe na buno ndo chikina ke onano mendo talaga no ndombasi ke ndo chuko melonga ni sembi se ndo chuko sarmai na koripau ningirita nambango ya erto na ave no muni sangai moni mo chuka na Albert Park na Albert Park suba da mai maruta na siga da totoko chungo na rake na korturanga da mai maruta ke na bi kai bo dirtingo utina ke na mai na moira kemini na vital no wati orto na plan checkers orto na kenanda orto bo sona ka orto tu na da virtu manda na the own observation no orto reida na kaiado irangwani bit patra kang orto na kuto abuki
iyo endo ne talo no levu kito vital no chinungo no orto marota orto na matanggal di vorrongo chu weekend santa tusar tunga ena ka verto mi waseli ustal chu orto feedback we love Fiji. We love the way they listen and participate.
yes
Na participation erto kawitagan erto rechu mai non kailichu na daru no anelawa non ravasa usau na ngona ni sere ni vokata tambo non worship. So nangona la bi ba kurumbita ke mbaki diwa mbaki walu. Morre di remer sa tangitu na ngona ni vokata tambo kabor nelon dai.
isa na pata
Iyo,
nem baki nimpula
iyo. Usa un buon trucco tra sarà vita na sorts che tu torna singa ci sta giocando nungu page vita na ngone o tora me ratangi wirondondo au sinni wirre wango this stand alone sin doni tumbu to Sandra me fa me urede me doni tumbu me ro to lo batani den duera chunga muro sin rida kanga urede ni sarla ni liu non rambulo ni vota tampo avala saranga na likelu bertana elonga nikelu ko eroni avala tana matengali kamas iyo
tina
erlombe ga ni bi murmuri yeni rusali tu ilome sa do tel nan rag sa tu ya
Totani saranga.
E brother bo no leo. Era rono ndra tangi, era rono ndra kavor. E do tala tormenta na tarotu. E ke wasar le kavor tu wa.
Au kai ngai na bitari e thanguri. Sarli tali roro talanga kina bikadi ve thanguri. Mesara kuti ni ripanguri kina olta. Portanto na endua na thaka levo sin rora wa mompita na buno tuda kitu kina kertona no muitoka ni moi wiavi mompichir tu ke ngolo kina olta. It's not easy.
Brother bo no leo ira tu na buli vi murmuri.
Oh yes.
E mo bichira na no mu lola ira no mu pia.
And take that step
Mongo
forward.
torrendo ne kalo mo tambe da mai dake. Asa toranga miracle.
Yes.
Na tor sarana viva kurumbita gile wichova. Me vaga dorea. Maltini na kawita tu. Ito sanga ingi da fortuna ka fortuna friend.
Musanga stand alone and take that stand.
Da kavani kalo ya.
Tina sara. Na bika ndorbital no tatingo kina bika ni sota bana matho saochi nana magiti kinongo suba kina bibu no belekata na buni songo mai dagai suba. Sa pandi tatinga orni tambo ni ne wal non relenga chuko bichisu.
Na iwal nilanga na nangore da maya. Sengatan dotal na iwal nilanga tingo. Maten tu na senga. Na lotu mandanga na senga.
Na NGO
na NGO era kai kela tingo era ni ra kai na ken levuto dok. En seni ra ni na wali na lengo. Na lenga e chunga ve chisu. Jesus is the answer. O kwanga na sauni lenga kedenga. Kembale ve kendani tumbu ndoli besusu. Ke wasandendre chigo kwana ngone ngore chigivali. Ko chiko mandani na ena dona kana da kavana kalu. Ora la mengo ra sa masutumai. Ora tumai ne va cosmo storelio ra masutumai. Na songo TV ti na Fiji Council of Church kem sa masulagati na daga lebungo ni ken non da vi tarai voyalo.
Talanga se u buno lipangoli ngoli kino nungu bakasa mate kirni tumbu dali bisu kila kenda ni tumbu dali bisu na buno chikina lu benda chitana ki nelonda. Kila enda muri lu benda. So no nanda sini pela ko songa enda la wali sartu ngambali tingwani. E coach kenda tu e oso tungo na ngito na dance na co games e roso kena tumbu dali bisu multala e muri chiko ngoni. Kin bale na songo nda toko ni lu benda murir. E bina ka merosuri tala ni tumbu dali bisu. Salah mo leo me bale rumuri ko men ro toko ni ko mai.
Esingatan do tangon sal mo matal tagi na tinam bimbingo ringo sa tinam bimbi saranga. Vikenda ni tumbu ke vaga mendangan dreva menda susunga endona vitivinak. Ngo saranga okenda. Gonda non the responsibilities saranga menda coachira vichisu. Seni lang non the coachira ngito na kakedwaya. Sendona lang. Ya kwengo men non the priorities saranga. Kavayalo, batala kavayalo ko yung buli tovo, ko yung buli varau, ko yung susungo na tamata vinagay loma, membasi kamay, na vikay vunita ka tu na kaluy loma, na doon na thorbo, doon na ngon leo chigo bolingor talindendre besi chigo, chigo yung loma, doon na kay vakatoka beauty loma na kalo, beauty loma na kalo nga ron ni sotav na lengor, kambamba liko mo kuchiko yan, kinabibunwa keda nga rawa, ni viregikina kona kavuni kwe chigo na lomo ni tamata ndundua kakuni mbeda ndona dorwo no lewa kakuni ka ni sasin draw ni nda viso taikwa sana kakede ni konga me vichiso e visau tamata todo nga rasa tamata ke chiso na ona e visau kwa matambo kwa rai kwa le ndivare rongo kwa chingarone mbagino na tomate e ochi wandua kembal na lenga chingo me ko vichisu pate ono dhuria ni na ndota na ngoni sala ono dhuruma ni ndota na salvo amen sa non de nu nga o Kristo chokatama
Tinasar.
au klane wani lenga vichi ni kwa o chisunga yo menda kauta menda take action na masu sabinaka ya ndo chiguna tigini vyokanya ya mwenda sa ko chikwa sarangani
Totoka masu, totoka le lotu.
Totoka. Iya, so na kabango lagoti santa kunia kina na vina kanta kochikanda nikila.
Leu birna lubenda, ngoi dona ka au robanga beira, dotana ka enda reida. So bira sarasini ve duru motor bel lotu, sarasini ve lagoi bel lotu. Dona posong robanga ta bel. It's too boring. Ya, na posara da botejo. Era sini pelo ko bolo tumbeleta ni e watu ngango le watu ngango. Sono ngono sa le mga tau na bolo tumi vuno nungu mothi. Okay, ya pata po ko lo chumingo pleno checkers.
Gorindo na voz ndina, pero sa do tunu
Tamon.
Eu tampon. Balata na ivalval nimbule ndo tani valila ken balbal o kenda nanda una o menda na viso takatalanga men viro rau wate ke nangangan rechuga wate ke ni valval na buno wandin din taginongo kudi me capture takatuna non rambula mera tu wandua e na lomni tolle awa ora valelinga 5 minutos sa mas go me sa kwasranga 3 hours focus ken balbal o kenda mesanda viso tavalele ne valval ni non da presenta na gospel me viso valilai meron inda kilau kenda na need wate ke na kamen da vakarauta me sotava na need
Right.
iya e chiu non rangangandre e sengri toto wata ke non rangangandre nangase e tu nei valval ni vika me rasota bigina ken balbal o kenda men sanda na vachi tumvalele ne non da vakikele na vos niklo men da rei da saramande no kenda na lava ngandre vachi na ngoningo bate urna ngone tu veto tu wata ke tu na non ra
Iyo.
e varra unirai e men da sana toro valele na ngon ke pagasenga la vi moderile bun li da chu benutu
Na uli baka madala to uli baka samatang mena posong ko so bikin da satu mana tungana kame one size fits all iya
esa cosa
iya na iparau ni no mo talia po ento e baki wal song kawalu na sinrano ko tamaya kinon dono ngone baki chin kawalu iya Rano paka turang ambek ke ko kaya se paka tiro lolo paka turang na ke ko to sobi ke siang o kongo non tote non 5 o kango samai pa o tiko no via sa pa budi sa servio da bichike vai ase o kama da
e pasar tu na rei ngon ngo ano puno ko sa lio per santing ta mersat sungai tu mersasin mai lutu ningon en tol ginen house of worship ni woti na covid e lio wirando lutu lio sarasini via listel mai Ersa maru taka vale wir na lutu en Facebook en TV en ka todo wa. Sa senga ni review lister mai bat ni kwangona sa ando tanga na style non da vingarabi. Sa baka senga ni bo imbal. E bina mer chigo val ndo tan kamera ta ka chigo o chi duanga ngon legal mer sarwa gindo ni alongo sa tokotu.
Re de chungo and they doing other things
Liu tan ka ta e ken mabale o ken men da vina ta kasaranga ni vala ni non the gospel presentations
ke rubital no ke na general superintendent ni NCF New Methodist Ndoro mo sangai tu no ko bandina te kina kani tu no tu na bango ko e lebu de na New Methodist ko ra tu na bi pale ngo mana bana New Methodist ko ra loch mai lutu tu no kwendo kana bin New Methodist tu baleta oira sara lutu tu na TV screen on ngai bang ko na punau on esa roro de kibira e mo exciting vira Indina kina bi on kani tu chungur
Yen tu tal chuan lengale butingo ni on dikin tamulo tu vale eni songo tu ntona ka watu ka kin edification na non da viva tata taki ken balmbal na viva tata taki se ko non da utura watan vida na matini buka mengai mbasika kin ona damela ya ko na buko ka damela to ona tolo ni buko damela to ya toranga mbite watik ana valinga sambok ken balmbal ken tala mda chigo vale menda na numutio sin rawando ni ona tumbu ke ba chigo vale
do ye ti ko songo li
iyo sanga igo chigo mo ko tumo lomo ni na puno ni songo lutu kautigo na songo lutu ba ngolwena kautigo kin balata e bukeiko en vakatata taki iko en da mai sota na tamata vakam bauta kama kina non da vakam bauta mai non da tunga ivale sona ngono sanda enjoy ta tu kenda na tivale sa baka do talangan kabole we mbite tu weekend na te formen da ka kun rita kenda na bimbi ni vosa ni kluya men da ka kun ni vale ni vosa ngoni wat me baka non rivala vala tamata so
tira sar
Iku sin tamata so iku no luvni klo ko chigo no valutu
torkadina
amen
sandana lewele kinai sandana leno masau au sa pati lo machungo sa ko chungo ya ninda kuti kena ko songo ni bata e umanda utoranga biau kila ninda tiko pate kira era binaka na non rabinaka ena takabi kenda mai ko do tuni to the goodness rubs off on us
Imagine.
ya Kaya meron tangan li rono na numuli tumali wirang na tamata pambulay. O li pakila na pinaka.
Ento na kali mo na numuri dira so ngarabi kalubinaka Rida ni ndabe to iliun de ngarabi kalubinaka na nonambula. Na kai ko na vinakata.
Wati na ortumulupi na tuto kapat.
Iyo. Gain dochi una kam bimbingo sai ko na kenawasi na was niklo. Iko nyo sa ndambe chiki vale ndota ni vale le ndota ni atmosphere mbata na nuvakasa metunu vivuno kedha. Yo nyo lomen vale niklo. Was na was niklo. Reidir na wakamu. Dona ka embuila na nondambula embuela. Embuela nondambula ko vakama ikenda. Na vakasa mani edification no ndaliva tata taki.
Na bole.
Ndika kuni vale.
Nakasar pa kalebo na nomanindo patatik may kikito na nomanindo ni Bengarabi na patapatongo ni Voqa Kei Viti Aotearoa. Kito sabo ko ni binakatiko ni na mo ni madha binakabikenda na mo ni madha ongo bunga sar na bika enda na boy tebte kenda tukina enda na vela ko akibulikina kabaka mbimbi na ngito kana boy dhuritiko na veibo no todo ko eso wambimbi tar sar taltik nga na nandra na ngito tiko na final may nando banua ena dins ena mo ni madha ongo kasaba waro tukina iro na ngone keir na tumbu keir na doni ve susu ke kenda na lewi biti menda na sarasara yani kina era nenda sarava nangitongo weekend na tiko yani ebonotani ena FBC Sports ni bagadengu binaka may wikito nandoni Bengarabi ena Voqa Kei Viti Aotearoa junior tamani wika tamani amalay nilinga lebu talongo ni bagadengu binaka ni kalunga tatiko ni sama demanda